Hello, welcome to another video outlining some of the core elements of Go Ahead Punk. I'm the designer Mark Prentice, and today we're going to look at combat in the game. Go Ahead Punk isn't a particularly complex game, but one of the more involved elements is the combat, so we're going to have a closer look at it now. So, the main thing to remember about combat is every time two characters meet that are from opposing sides, combat takes place for just one combat round and then play moves on. So if I zoom back a bit here, you can see we go clockwise at all times around the board. Stinger starts the game, then it's Catherine, Frank, Eddie, like this. So if one of the cops comes across Stinger, they fight one combat round. In other words, they fire at him, he fires at them. Then he has the opportunity to escape, or the cop does if they really want to. And then if nobody escapes, it moves on to the next character. So that's the core thing to remember, because obviously in a lot of games, when opposing forces meet, they just fight it out to the end. But not so in Go Ahead Punk. So let's take you through a scenario here. So Stinger is on position 26, so let's just move him off there, because obviously in a normal game it's hidden movement, so you wouldn't know he was there. So it is Catherine's go, and she can go anywhere, but she decides to go north, and she goes 1, 2 on her move. Stop. The player playing Stinger has to announce that a cop has landed on his place. So he would move his playing piece onto here, and a cop has found him, so combat would then ensue. So let's go through the first combat round here with Catherine. So Catherine is carrying a weapon which is a 2D weapon. It's just a 38 pistol, so she can roll 2 dice in combat situations for that particular weapon. So the dice have 3 symbols on them. So there are 2 targets, there are 2 ricochets, and there are 2 escapes. And we will see which ones are and how they are used during this combat. So the cops typically are looking for targets. That's what they're trying to roll. So Catherine moved in on Stinger, not the other way around. So the character that moves in on the other is the character that rolls first. So Catherine is going to roll 2 dice for her pistol, and let's find out what happens. So I'm going to roll 2. Okay. Okay, so that's no hits. So Stinger records no hits. Now he has a grenade, but he's going to save that for later. He has his sniper rifle, which is obviously pretty useless in a firefight. It's only 1 dice, but he does have the Park Ranger pistol, because he picked up a Park Ranger card earlier, so he can roll 2 dice for that. So let's see what happens on his roll. And he also doesn't score any hits. So that is 1 round of combat. She has fired, he has fired, that's it. Now both parties can choose to escape. Typically it would be Stinger. So now he rolls 1 more dice, and he's trying to get this symbol here, the escape symbol. For the purposes of demoing today, I'm going to say that he rolled that and he didn't escape. So the 2 of them park that combat. That's parked, and they are in that position, and we move on around the board. It was Catherine's go, and that is Frank's go. Now Frank is 3 positions away. The standard movement for cops is 2. So technically Frank couldn't get there. However, earlier in this demo game, Frank picked up a car, which gives him +1 movement, which means he can move his standard 2 +1 for the car, so he can move 3. So he now joins in the combat. He's carrying the classic 44 Magnum, very powerful handgun, so he can roll 3 dice. So let's see what happens on Frank's turn. Okay, so he gets 2 hits. However, Frank has the special ability of +1 damage, which means whenever he rolls a hit, you always add another damage. So that would be 3 damage on Stinger. 1, 2, 3. Stinger replies with his own 2 dice. And we have 1 hit there on Frank. So we'll move him down to 4. Okay, so no. Okay, so Frank was wearing a vest, which gives him -1 every time he is hit. So if he receives 3 hits, for example, he would only take 2, and in this particular instance, when he received 1 hit, he would take no damage at all. So actually, that's no damage on Frank. So Frank has fired, Stinger has fired, so now Stinger can try to roll to escape at the end of this combat round. And again, we're going to say that he rolled that, so he has not escaped. And the 2 of them are still in situ. So, Eddie. Eddie is a few spaces away, but he is on a freeway, so he can move all the way to there as 1 move, there to 9 as the 2nd move. Now, that's the standard Cop 2 movement, and Eddie does not have a car. But what he does have is a radio, and also Catherine has a radio. So the way the radios work are, if there is somebody in combat with a radio, any other cops that have a radio automatically have +1 to their movement. So because Eddie has the radio, he can move his standard movement of 1 down the freeway, 2, and 1 more, 3, because of that radio. So Eddie can now also join in the firefight. Eddie has the shotgun, 3 dice. So let's see what happens if I roll 3 of his dice. Wow, 3 hits. Now Eddie has the special ability to be able to re-roll 1 missed dice. However, in this particular instance, he doesn't need that ability because he hit with all 3 anyway. So we will put those 3, 1, 2, 3, onto Stinger. That's got to hurt. And Stinger can now reply back to Eddie. Now, ordinarily, you always have to return fire to the cop that has just fired on you. So he would use his 2 dice to fire back on Eddie. But on this occasion, because he has all 3 cops there, he's going to use his grenade. And the grenade has the effect of a splash effect, if you like. So all cops present take the damage. So he's going to pull the pin, and he's going to roll as a one-off 5 dice. Let's see what happens. And we'll re-roll 1 more. 5 dice, so that's 2 hits. So 2 hits on Catherine. 1 hit on Frank because of his vest. 2 hits on Eddie. So there we go. So that was quite powerful from Stinger, but he has used that now, so that is now no longer there. And he now has his roll to escape if he can. So I'm going to say he fails again. Maybe he rolls another target. No good for escaping, so he fails to escape. Now, it is now Stinger's turn. Now on Stinger's turn, what he can do, he can try and roll to his roll to escape before the combat round. If he was extremely low on health, maybe he doesn't want to do a dice exchange with a cop. Instead, he prefers to just roll to try and escape before the combat round. So he's going to roll first, and I'm going to say that he's failed. He's failed to escape. So he has to do the combat round, of course. So because he's failed to escape. Now on Stinger's turn, he can choose a particular cop to target. Because it's his turn, he doesn't have to target Eddie, who was last. He can target, and typically you're going to target whichever cop is lowest on health. So let's have a look. Catherine is on 2 health, and Eddie's on 3, and Frank is on 4. So I'm going to say that we're going to target Catherine because she's lowest on health. So he's got his handgun here, so he rolls 2 dice, and lo and behold, I'm going to say that he rolls 2 hits. Bad news for Catherine. So 1, 2, ER. Catherine now has to move to the nearest ER. Let's just unbury her for a second. She has to move to the nearest ER, which is going to be here. She immediately heals 2. And it is also now her turn. So she has the option to either leave immediately on only 2 health, or stay for another turn and heal 2 more. So she is instead going to wait another turn and heal up to 4, and that will be her turn, healing in the ER. So that's her turn over. Obviously there was no combat with Stinger because she's no longer on his place. Okay, so next up we have Frank. We have Frank, who's still in combat with Stinger, so he's going to roll his dice. No hits, and Stinger is going to reply. No hits on Frank. Stinger's going to try to escape. I'm going to say he gets that, so he fails to escape again. And that is the end of Frank's round. So we now move on to Eddie. Eddie still has a shotgun. I hope for Stinger's sake he doesn't get this many hits again. Oops, didn't save the camera there by accident. Okay, so there's no hits this time, but he can re-roll 1 combat dice, and he still didn't get a hit. So Stinger's going to roll 2 back at Eddie. No hits. So Stinger is again going to try to escape. Let's say he fails again. Okay, so it's now Stinger's turn. So he really doesn't want to do another combat round. He's looking at only 3 health left. He doesn't want to go down any further. So it's his turn, so he can attempt to roll to escape first. So let's say he attempts that, and again he fails to escape. He does have 1 emergency measure open to him. If he's carrying any cards, he can burn those cards in exchange for extra escape rolls. These cards could be travel passes, they could be various different things. But he's really desperate to get away, so he's going to start burning his cards in hand in exchange for extra escape rolls. So he discards that card for an extra escape roll, and it fails again. And he discards his last card, really hoping against hope this time. And let's say finally he gets his escape. And that will then enable him to move up to 3 positions away in secret. So let's see. What if I go 1, 2, 3? Okay, so he's moved away in secret. And that's his turn. It is now Catherine's turn. Catherine's going to come out, but of course none of them know because he's moved there to position 1. His piece is no longer on the board. What he will have done, of course, is over here. He will have placed his marker on 1, so it's properly recorded. Catherine on her turn. Catherine on her turn doesn't know where he is now, so all she can do is head in the kind of general direction. 1, 2. And on Frank's turn, Frank has movement of 3. So if Frank guesses right, he could catch up with Stinger and combat could begin again. So if Frank was to... Frank's turn, let's just move these off each other. Oops, there we go. So Frank might go 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. Let's just say Frank guessed right. If Frank guesses right, 1, 2, 3, Stinger would then have to declare that he's on that place, and we begin all over again. Although, because Frank doesn't have a radio, it would take a minimum of 2 turns for the cops to reach to him. Unless, let's see now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it'd take a minimum of 2 turns for Catherine. Eddie can go 1, 2. Let's say Eddie, on his turn, decided to draw a movement card. I can find one in here somewhere. I wasn't prepared for this, so there isn't one. Well, I can't see one there. I could go through the pack, but let's just say on Eddie's turn, he decides to take a chance and draw a card, and he gets move +2. He could use that card immediately to go 1, 2, standard move, 3, 4, using the +2 and discard the card. And then he would be able to catch up with Stinger again straight away. Not great if Stinger is only on 2 or 3 health. But, I mean, that would be, the cops would be quite fortunate for that chain of events to happen, but you never know. So, yeah, that's a brief overview of combat in the game. As I say, the 2 golden rules: they fire, he fires, roll for escape, move on, and just keep moving around. And they're the golden rules, really, and then combat is fairly simple after that. Thanks very much for watching. I'll do another video quite soon, and for now, have a good day.